He's for the game. He's for the Viking. He's a big Viking. He thinks he's awesome.
Hey everyone, this is me, the Untitled Viking, and this is Black Flag, stories from the eye of the sea. I'm going to be talking about this pirate game today, and it seems only fitting that my cat Iago there should be just perched precariously upon my stereo, waiting to see what I have to say. Black Flags is, as I said, a pirate game. I mean, this is several years ago. You can go track down that video from like the before time. Before I was part of board game publishing in that world. I did a review for a game called Merchants and Marauders. I can see it on my game shelf right over there. And that, to me, was one of the most quintessential pirate-themed board games of all time. It seemed to capture kind of like the idea of Sid Meier's Pirates and do it very, very well. Since then, I can't remember the name of it. It's right down there. Since then, the game Shiver Me Timbers, which I did a video for a long time. I'm horrible. I can't remember the names of these games at all. Shiver Me Timbers came out like last year or 2 years ago now. It's tough to remember. Another really, really good game that did a lot as far as encompassing the idea of that classic Sid Meier's Pirates or Cutthroats, if you played that computer game. You know, it captured that feel in a board game, and both of those games did that very well, and I have trouble deciding which one I like more. I think it's one of those things where I can just like them equally well. Regardless, I enjoy the pirate-themed games. There's some games that I have liked less than others, but usually if it's a pirate theme, I'm going to enjoy it. This, and I know I spoke glowingly of two other board games, but what I love about Black Flags is that it is dripping with the pirate theme, but it is functionally completely different from either of those two games that I mentioned. This is a game where it combines a great deal of, it has some pick up and deliver Euro to it, whereas you're picking up certain cargo that is worth buying it for less at certain spots and transporting it to another place, you know, that will pay you more for it. It has a great deal of mystery and excitement as far as you explore the world that you're in. It has definitely a process of like just asking the player to play the game how they want to. Do you want to be just a trader? You can definitely do that and make a lot of points. Do you want to focus on seeking out other players and trying to steal the treasures that they have? Yes, there is a lot of player interaction in this game. That is definitely an option. You can do that as well. I mean, there was a game that came out several years ago called Zaya. That was that kind of game. It was a, you know, explore this world, do it. Now, this isn't like a 4X type game. The game board's quite small, but it definitely allows you to play the game how you want and achieve your victory or your attempted victory the way you want. And I apologize if you hear what my other cat apparently is upset that this cat isn't playing with it and chasing like dust bunnies or something underneath the table right now. But regardless of all that, let's talk about Black Flags. I'll show you how the game is played. I'll show you the game board. I'll show you the processes that you'll go through. And then we'll come back here and I'll talk more about why I really, really, really enjoy this. Alright, so this is Black Flag. So I'm going to show you how the game works. I'm not going to do a super deep dive into all the rules. You can check out the rulebook yourself on the Kickstarter page and just download that and read it if you like. But just knowing that this is the game board that you have here, and you can see it is set up into this like 3 circles, basically. The middle circle, this one, and that one. And you will be moving your ships, as I've put on the board here. On your turn, you can move them 3 spaces. Sometimes you can move them more by spending morale tokens and so forth. But for the most part, you're moving 3 spaces. And you have to move in a clockwork fashion. Now, you can stop. You can only move 1 space. Say, like, you're 2 spaces away from this port, and or I should say the Pirate's Cove, and you want to stop there. You definitely can do that. If you want to move 1 space so you can interact with another player and stop there, you can definitely do that. But on your turn, you can move 3 spaces, and it has to be clockwise. And you can head into the center of the board if you wish to, and we'll talk about that Eye of the Sea center of the board thing here in just a little bit. Or you can go into the Smuggler's Cove kind of current, or Smuggler's Run, I should say, that's in the middle here. This is a more dangerous area to do so. Whenever you end your turn not on one of these little safe haven spots, you'll be instructed to draw either a Royal Current card, which is for the outside, or the Smuggler's Run, which is on this one. This is a more dangerous. These cards are a more dangerous result that you're putting yourself in. But risk and reward, you know, for going there. But why would you go there? Well, obviously you can see these spaces. There's only one for every two that are out here. So if you needed to, like, get to a spot, you know, I mean, like, say you were here and, you know, you wanted to, you know, move over to like a spot where another player was or something like that. You know, if instead of going 1, 2, 3 here, you could go 1, 2, 3, and now you'd be like one spot away. Maybe you spend a morale token to move with that one more space so you can interact with that player. Same thing goes for if you want to make it to here. You can't ever go counterclockwise. I mean, the only real way you can ever go counterclockwise is if you're in this spot, because you can move 1 to there, and then you could move 1 back that way. But that is the only way that you can do that. You can't move from here 1 and then 2 and 3 like that. You'd have to go, you know, you have to keep going around like a clock does. All right, so you're moving, you're doing things. Who are you? What are you? Well, each player will get a pirate card that'll have like their special abilities and have a little picture of them, and then it has like what they start with as far as their starting resources and what little bonus. This guy here, I like this guy because I hope you can see he's got like a snake for a necklace. Captain Ray gets +1 to all cannon rolls, and each player is going to have a little player board, and I just knocked my little marker off, but the player board, and each one of these spots will tell you like different levels of what either your crew can do or what your ship can do, and also the number of ships you have in your fleet. The number of ships you have in your fleet, that determines how much cargo you can hold. Cargo is over here. There's several different types of cargo. I'll talk about that here also in just a little bit. The big thing about these is that when you upgrade these, and I'll talk about upgrading them, what you do is you upgrade the number of dice you get to roll. So normally all of these have, like, you know, so Seaworth is 1 dice, and cannons are 1 dice, and so on and so forth. But when you upgrade it, you take a little token and you put a little 2 on there to show you're going to get to roll 3 dice when you use that. And then you flip that over to show that you get to roll 3 dice when you roll that. And the same goes for all of those spots. You're going to upgrade them and mark those as the game progresses. And upgrading your ship with your crew and also the abilities of your ship is important. You're going to be doing that, and you're going to have to do that, which I'm going to talk about also in just a little bit. But for the most part, though, the really nice thing about this game is that it has this little player's guide here. Over here, it lists all of like the different cargo and how much it costs to buy that certain cargo, where you can sell that cargo for better. So like here you can see the Pirates Cove sells contraband for 1 gold piece each, but you can sell it in Trader's Way for 5 gold pieces each. And keep that in mind. The game is over once all of the gold has been collected, and I'll talk about that also. But the winner of the game has a lot of different parameters. I mean, gold's going to be important, treasure's going to be important, and so on and so forth. But it is kind of nice that I love games that have really good player aids like this, where you can just look at that without having to dig out the rules and dig through everything. It tells you how much everything costs, what you have to spend, and so on and so forth. And then on the other side, it tells you exactly what you can do in your turn, and it also explains what the Eye of the Sea die does. And I'll talk about the Eye of the Sea die when we talk about the Eye of the Sea. So that's really good. Kudos to the designer of this game. Great player aid. I think all games need great player aids. I just, anytime you don't have to dig through the rules, that is a good thing. All right, so you're going to move. If you end up on one of these spots, any of them, doesn't matter where they are, that's where you can spend the gold that you've made to do your upgrades on your ship. You can buy more ships for your fleet. You can upgrade both, you know, your like the number of crew, what your crew can do. You can upgrade your ship, and that's, like I said, really important. You're going to be able to do that. If you end on a space, one of these 4 spaces, your turn's pretty much over after that. You don't get to do anything cool, you don't get to draw any of these cards and see what happens, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Also, that's where you can spend fame tokens to earn gold right away. You earn fame by actually doing exploits and what have you, but I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. I do apologize for that, but that's another thing that you can do when you get to that spot. All right, so when you end up in one of these spaces and you end your turn there, the person to your right, so if in a two-player game it's just the other player, but obviously with more players you're gonna have people to your right and your left. They're gonna draw the card and they're going to read it aloud to you. So this is if you've ever played a cross paths game, anyway, it doesn't matter. You're gonna read this aloud to them. So this one says, royals in every direction. It is routine. Along with the royal current for the royals to collect taxes and ships for contraband, you can spend one royal favor to ignore this card and sail onward, or you willingly pay your taxes and allow the royals to confiscate any contraband you have on board your ships, and then you so on. Otherwise, you must choose from the following options. And then, like, you can tell the person, will say your option 1 is roll for cannons to attempt to sink the royal fleet, or option B is roll for negotiation to attempt to avoid the royal plunder. And when you offer those to the person, you're not telling them these colors. You don't tell them red or orange. And so depending on what they say, then you're going to reveal to them, okay, you want to use cannons? Okay, so that's a red result. You're going to take this red die, and this die has 4s and 5s and 6s on it. You're going to roll that. I rolled a 5, and that means that the player, like let's say they had cannons of 3, that player gets to roll 3 dice, and they have to have 1 die be a 5 or better. So let's see if I get lucky. I did. So then they would say, okay, your cannons worked. I rolled a 5 there. So was the roll a success? And it says, you managed to sink their entire fleet, lose 3 royal favor, gain 3 pirate favor, gain 1 fame, gain 1 morale. And if you failed, the royals destroy your fleet, lose 2 royal favor, lose 2 ships and 2 cargo, lose 1 morale. So, I mean, there's good and bad things. Those are cool, right? Now let's just turn one over. Let's say we were in the smuggler's run. Let's see what this one says. It says, and sometimes you don't get an option, it says, you are a bit nervous as the darkness comes upon you. Your charting skills seem no match for this terrible fog. You must attempt to navigate. Roll for navigation and attempt to chart your path out of it. And you don't have an option. You're just going to, so this is an orange. So we roll and we get a 3. Let's say they only had 2 dice for their navigation. And 2 1s, that's not good. And so then it says, no, you lose your fleet, lose 2 ships and 2 cargo, lose 1 morale. And so yes, the seas can be very fickle and they can be very dangerous. And so that's like kind of purposely shows that like when you go into that spot, it can be difficult. Now, how does this middle thing work here in the middle? So if you go into that spot, you have to stop. You can't just run through it. You have to stop. And on your next turn, you're going to roll this die. This is the die that's going to determine whether you're stuck or you escape, or if you suffer some damages. And when you roll the die, that's an escape. That's great. You can move 3 spaces and you can move out of there. If you roll this result, you're stuck there and you have to wait till the next turn. If you roll this result, bad things happen. You lose ships and you're unfortunately not a good choice to go into the middle. The nice thing, why would you ever go into the middle? Well, as you can see, since you can just go 1, 2, and you're there, on your next turn, you can literally go, everything is 2 spaces away from you, right? So it is kind of like a teleport, if you will, and you can go to any other spot on the board. And again, that is a risk-reward type thing that you're going to be going on and doing. So in some cases, you're going to be told, like if you succeed in gathering treasure, the game will tell you to roll treasure dice. When you roll different treasure dice, you'll get certain results. Sometimes you'll get gems. Gems are worth a ton of points, so try to get gems if you possibly can. It's always a good idea to get those. Sometimes they'll tell you to draw these treasure cards. Treasure cards, like at the end of your game, you earn 10 bonus victory points for having this particular treasure card. And these are a wide variety of different things that you can, for the remainder of the game, you gain +1 to all your cannon rolls. So there's upgrades. Magic compass. For the remainder of the game, you get a +2 to all your navigation rolls, and so on and so forth. So these are like cool little things that you can get. You want to get treasure when you possibly can. The only other thing I really haven't talked about is 2 players meeting each other and dealing with each other. So depending upon, because you have to draw one of these cards first, and depending upon the card, it's either going to have a night or, let me see, or a day, like this. And that's going to tell you if it's during the nighttime or the daytime for that particular encounter. During the nighttime, it's like skullduggery, where you can like sneak aboard their ship and try to like steal stuff from them. And that's where like having your captain's quarters guards, which is one of the bonuses that you have here to defend yourself. If it's and you as these people try to like sneak aboard your ship and take stuff from you that you have. If you have if it's during the day, then it's a more direct result where you're going to actually have two players actually use their cannons and try to blow each other up and try to do something. During the day, it should be mentioned that like bad things can happen to the person that is attempting to do what happens, like, because basically you can get your ships blown up from underneath you. During the nighttime, when you try to sneak aboard the ship, if you fail to do that, nothing bad happens to you. So sometimes I think sometimes like with the interaction during the day, you have better rewards, but it's riskier. During the night, less rewards, but also less risk for you as well. The only other thing I haven't mentioned is that when you go to the Golden Isles, which is this space right here, that is when you can take your bag. Everybody gets a bag like this, and you can take any gems that you've collected and any gold that you wish to take out of your purse. Like, you get to put it in this bag, which means that you have buried your treasure on that island. It means that nobody can come onto your ship and steal your stuff. You can go back there and collect it anytime you want, because if you decided you run out of money and you need money and you have to do something, you can do that. But for the most part, you should be going there and at least dropping off gems, because gems are really important. You can't ever cash gems into gold, to make sure that you have those at the end of the game. And that should be a good message. If you're playing against somebody and they have a bunch of gems, try to get them before they get to the Golden Isle to drop those off. The last thing I want to mention is that this big red bag you get with it is this is like the gold bag. This is the royal bank, or the royal currency. Anytime you spend gold, the gold goes in this bag and it never comes out of that bag. When this giant pile of gold is gone, and with less players, you have less gold. This is for 4 players. And when all of that gold is gone, that signals the end of the game. And you get victory points based off of, yes, the treasure you've collected, and like those things, like I remember I showed you that one treasure card that had those special abilities, but there's also like there's actually a lot, kind of almost like a point salad game where there's a ton of stuff. Like buried gems are worth 20 victory points. See, I told you that. Every fame you have is worth 5 victory points. Trader favor is worth 1 victory point. Pirate favor is worth a victory point. Magic items are worth 10 victory point. Your captain's quarters gems are worth 10 victory points. So like the buried gems and buried gold are actually worth more. That's why you want to bury it, because gold you have is just worth 1, but buried gold is worth 2. Buried gems are worth 20, but normal gems are worth 10. So you have a bunch of different points like that. And you then see who has the most points and who became the most powerful pirate during this game. I enjoy this game a lot. I enjoy this game for a lot of reasons, but I'll talk about those right now. All right, so that is Black Flag, Stories from the Sea. So I'm assuming you watched the introduction. I'm assuming you watched how to play. So let's just dive in. What do I like about this game? Well, as I said, I really enjoy pirate-themed games. I don't know what it is. I just, it's a wonderful idea. The idea of being some sort of swashbuckler on some sort of amazing journey, and having that whole world to be in, but also with none of the risks, right? You're just playing a computer game, playing a board game, what have you. But I think why this game speaks to me is a couple of reasons. Now, I mentioned a couple other board games about pirates that I really, really enjoyed. And one of the things about those 2 games is that they're both, quite long. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. If I'm enjoying, I can play a 4-hour game if I'm enjoying every single minute, every single hour of that, right? And that's okay, because you know what you're getting into. What I like about Black Flags is that it isn't that long. It isn't an epic game, but it still manages to have an epic feel to it. I love the process of going to a spot and having somebody else draw that card and read the introduction to it to me, and then like me trying to decide what's best for me in that situation. Sometimes the choice is easy. Well, I've got 3 cannons and I've only got 1 negotiation. I'm going to take the cannons in this situation. I don't care what the chances are. But sometimes it isn't. Sometimes, like, also, like, you have to try to think, well, what's the risk and reward here? What could I possibly get? I mean, if I take the cannons, I might be able to blow up their ships and gain treasure from doing so. And so you weigh those things against each other. And you try to determine what's the best route in the situation. And I like games that have a fair amount of chaos to them. I definitely have grown as a gamer. I mean, the original games I played, the original board games that I played, I'm not talking about designer board games, they almost all unilaterally had a great amount of chaos and randomness to them. As I progressed, I started to enjoy games that had a more determinism to them, that I could plot out a turn. I could determine exactly if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get this result. And I can enjoy that. Now, but I think at my root, at my core, I really enjoy the prospect of not really knowing what a turn is going to hand to me. I love cheering my successes, cursing my failures, and the exact opposite for my opponents that are playing the game as well. And plus, there's something really, really fun about drawing a card for somebody and reading it to them and like trying to just, like, hoping they pick, which, when they have an option, hoping they pick the wrong one. Because you can see what they have and what suits them. I do really enjoy the high level player interaction. Now, I mean, you could sit down and play this, and you could just tell everybody, okay, like, let's just have a rule, nobody attacks anybody, and you can definitely play that game. When I played with my kids, we played a game like that. I just wanted to see if it would work, if it would be any fun, and we still had fun. We still had a good time. We just had a rule where it was just like, we weren't going to do that, and we weren't going to, yuck somebody's yum, right? But my kids are also bloodthirsty, and they actually prefer the idea of blowing up Dad. So the next time we played, we definitely played the exact opposite way, and they really enjoyed that. I think they enjoyed it more. Now, your group, you personally might not like that. Well, I'm just saying that you can play it like that. I mean, explicitly in the rules, it doesn't actually give that as an option, but you definitely can if you have an agreement at the table. You can play it as such. But I do love the idea of, like, somebody getting a lot of treasure. They're just weighed down with gold and gems, and they're just, they're struggling to get to the Golden Island so they can bury that stuff. And they're desperate to get there, and they go through the middle of the board, they go through the eye of the sea, and you're waiting for that one roll to see what they get, and they roll, and they actually start losing ships, and bad things start happening, and you're just like, yeah, just like, and everybody's racing over there to grab them before they can escape, and I mean that kind of ties into the fact that, like, the whole purpose of this, where it says stories from the eye of the sea, is that this game does kind of tell that cool story where everybody starts imagining what's happening on the game board, happening to them, happening to their ship, happening to their captain, happening to their crew, and the people start talking about it. It's like, oh, everything was fine, then the Kraken showed up, just like, and you start laughing and you start having a good time, and ultimately, yeah, the game ends. But even if you lost, you start telling the stories about, like, that situation where, you all had that kind of epic ending to it, and you all had that epic result. And that's the kind of stuff, like I said, I mean, I've played games like this before. I played lots of games like this before. And these are the kind of games that, as we sit down to play stuff, like, people remember that. Like, I'm talking about games like Arkham Horror or Talisman or things like that. And this isn't those games. I'm referencing that as a type of game that years and years later, we talk about instances of playing those games, and we recollect and we laugh and we have a good time. And what I'm saying is that this is the type of game that's going to create those memories for me. And that's another reason. I mean, yeah, the game's great, it's fun, it's awesome. There's even, like, the moment when the game's over and you're wondering if you have enough victory points compared to everybody else and see who's going to win. everything about this. There's a level of tension that I enjoy. There's a level of interaction that I enjoy. There's a level of just fun that I enjoy. And so I'm really, really glad I own this. I'm really glad I have this, like, admittedly prototype, but I mean, maybe I don't have to give it back. Yeah. So, but I'm going to keep playing it. And it's going to be a game that's going to be easy to teach. It's going to be able to set up very, very quickly, and everybody's going to be able to sit down and play within 5-10 minutes of getting the game going, and everybody's going to have fun. So there you go. That is Black Flags. If you have any questions about it, ask away. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. As always, just be the best version of you can be every single day of your life, because really, that's all you can ask of yourself. All right? Take care.